Hello, good morning, everybody in this room, and of course, watching us online. It's my pleasure to welcome Iratxe García Perez, our group president, who will speak obviously on the plenary priorities and the latest developments in Europe. Thank you.
Muchas gracias y
Thank you very much. Good morning. Thank you for being present at this press conference. We always have a look at what is happening in the plenary, but no doubt the last few months have been marked by the war in the Ukraine, and it has affected our agenda greatly. We would like to start this morning with a debate on the situation of the children in Ukraine. A group which is the most vulnerable, and we will start the plenary with 1 minute silence for those dreadful crimes that took place in the city of Bucha. We are firmly convinced that we need to be extremely active in order to try to put an end to this illegal, unjust war. The Union is trying to collate all the evidence with regard to all these crimes. We cannot remain without doing anything, given all the crimes that have been committed by Putin and his armed forces. And this is certainly something that will condition all our work and all our debates during today's session.
con ese debate sobre la situación de los niños y las niñas, donde hemos impulsado como Grupo Socialista el poder tener a cabo este intercambio de opiniones. Enviamos también la pasada semana, hace 2 semanas, a la señora von der Leyen, a la presidenta de la Comisión Europea, una carta.
We asked her to prepare a packet of measures so that we could do something about the needs of children and guarantee that children in Ukraine should see that they have food, access to education, shelter, everything that is linked to the asylum policy. This is indeed something very important, and we need also to fight against the mafias and trafficking, because most of the refugees are women and children. And there are so many people who were showing solidarity and goodwill and trying to help all these refugees who arrive at the train stations. There are so many groups of voluntary workers, but there are many traffickers who have also joined them. And public institutions must do their utmost to protect these refugees. So we are working on a resolution on economic sanctions, because this is one of the weapons that we have as a European Union, and try to weaken the regime of Putin. There should be accountability and an increase in the measures that have already been adopted. And we can't wait for more. We need to be strong and forceful. We can't simply mention economic sanctions, but we need to be very forceful in demanding that the European Union should put an end to access of Russia to cryptocurrencies and do something about the oligarchs and adopt more aggressive measures vis-à-vis banks that deal with Russia. There are banks that still carry on applying the SWIFT vis-à-vis Russia. And we don't want member states to pay whatever products they get from Russia in rubles. So we have to talk about the embargo of gas and oil, and we should ask the Commission that there should be a whole package of measures that will guarantee our self-sufficiency with regard to energy. So we need to act in these two directions. That is the embargo on what gas and oil from Russia, but at the same time we must have greater energy efficiency within the Union. We're being forceful. We are negotiating with other political groups on this resolution, and I think the position of the European Parliament should be extremely firm, and we should be very decisive with regard to the application of sanctions vis-à-vis Russia, so that we can put an end to this situation that we are experiencing, which is absolutely dreadful and atrocious. So I would like to inform you that the topical debate of this week with regard to the S&D is collaboration between Putin and the extreme right-wing movements in Europe. We need to have this debate to clarify what took place and what is happening. We said it repeatedly. The objective of Putin is not only to invade Ukraine, but it is to destabilize and attack the fundamental project of the European Union. He's been doing this for many, many years. He's always had links with those whose objective was to destabilize the Union. And the extreme right-wing movements of Europe is what they're aiming at. Be it in France, in Italy, in Hungary, all these movements have had very clear links with Putin. And their aim is to destabilize the European project. And Putin, for example, congratulated Mr. Orban for his election in Hungary. This is not by chance. Are we on the side of Europe, European, on the side of European of that, or with the satraps like Putin, whose objective is to destabilize the world order? We think that it is indeed very important to have this debate, and I think it will be interesting this afternoon to have it. And then there is another issue that will be broached this week, is the question time with the European Commission. As you know, there is a new system that is going to be established, and this is part of the work that was started by our dear President, Mr. Sassoli, how to make the debate in Europe more dynamic. And so there was a proposal floated that there should be greater accountability of the work done by the Commission. I think that this is an initiative that should be taken into account. For example, today there will be question time with Ursula von der Leyen and other high representatives. I think that it's a wonderful initiative simply to enhance our work, and it will make things much more dynamic. because usually we have the traditional control, parliamentarian control, and this will certainly improve parliamentary control. And this is something that will mark this week's session. And given the war and given the work that is required by the Union, we're going to send a mission to Romania and Moldova simply to see what is happening on the ground, how the refugees are being helped. You know that Romania is one of the first country of entry of refugees, and of course, Moldova is also a priority country for the European Union. We want to be present there to give them support and solidarity, show our solidarity, given the situation they're in. So we will inform you about these missions that will take place next week. And now I'm at your disposal for any questions. Thank you, Iratxe.
From your side.
Oui, j'ai
Yes,
une
please.
question.
Yes, I have a question. You referred to the fact that Putin congratulated Orban for having won the elections, but I think Orban too congratulated Putin. Hungary is, of course, a member state of the European Union. It is a country that does not abide by European values. The money from the EU is making life easier in Hungary, in that Hungary receives considerable funds from the EU. You said that not much is being done. I mean, what can you do in terms of the situation in Hungary? What more can be done?
Bueno, con respecto a la
With regard to the defense of the rule of law, tomorrow we're going to have a debate on Article 7 and the application of Article 7 to Poland and to Hungary. And we've had a discussion amongst the Socialists and Democrats. We need to have a much more proactive position on the side of the Commission to protect and ensure the application of the rule of law. And we should, in fact, apply the principle of conditionality to the use of European funds. And we would like to know when Hungary is going to introduce the reforms that it has promised. So we're doing our utmost so that Hungary should remain within the framework of the rule of law that has been established by the European Union. So we were going to demand the respect of that, and of course the results of the election of the last of the weekend shows that we have to do something. That's quite obvious. We know that the international organizations like OSCE has informed us that the electoral process in Hungary did not provide all the necessary guarantees. So we already had signals of that. And we didn't act in the past forcefully, but that doesn't mean that we should resign ourselves. We have to carry on demanding that they apply the rule of law.
From your side, yes, can you please indicate your name and media? Thank you.
Tommaso Lecca dell'agenzia de prensa italiana AGI, Presidente Assi.
President, if I correctly understood, you are in favor of sanctions against Russia in the energy sector, but at the same time, you would like to have measures adopted so that there are no problems, energy problems for families, households, and companies. in Europe, but we are dependent on the gas that comes from Russia. But what can we do to overcome these problems that we are confronted with?
La propuesta
Of course, joint gas purchases, meaning that the European Union should make joint purchases of such products so that countries that are so dependent on Russian gas could become more independent. We need to find alternative sources as well. And we are also working on short-term and medium-term measures. So we need short-term, medium-term, and long-term measures. We need to have something for the next few months, but at the same time, we have to look further in the future and guarantee that we have renewable energies. But joint purchases of gas on the part of the European Union in order to guarantee the protection of countries that are so dependent on Russian gas is a fundamental issue.
Question? Okay.
Como follow-up, entonces, usted está...
So you would be in favor of applying sanctions vis-à-vis Russia on energy immediately, or do you think that countries that are so dependent on Russian gas should achieve independence from this? Well, we think that the embargo on Russian gas should be applied as soon as possible.
Questions in the room? D'autres questions? I think nothing online. Yes, Laura, please.
Sorry, I was behind the camera. En este sentido, en el sentido de...
With regard to the embargo that should be applied as soon as possible to Russian gas, what are you going to put in the resolution? What are the words you're going to be used? You need to find a balance within the different groups, or are you going to talk about a limit as to the amount that should be exported from Russia to Europe? Well, the negotiations have just started, so this is an extremely complex issue. You will fully understand that at the moment, we need to have a joint position amongst all the political groups. So I don't want to say anything for the time being, because what is absolutely an absolute priority is that we should have a resolution that will be endorsed by all the political group. We'll see how far we will get in this negotiation. I think that the majority of political groups want to go in the direction that I have just mentioned, but I don't want to preempt on the negotiations. Thank you.
And further questions? If that is not the case, I would like to announce that with regard to the topical debate Iratxe García mentioned, Putin and the far right, we will have a press point tomorrow at 4 o'clock next to the hemicycle with Raphael Glucksmann, chair of the INGE Committee on Interference, and we, of course, welcome you to be there. Thank you so much and have a good week. Merci, Iratxe.